Hey Erin, do you want to get some pizza?
Radical!
But do you know what that means?
I have to take all the cheese off the pizza because I can't eat cheese.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it also means that we watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the
We did
movie.
watch it!
Do you like camping or D&D? How about making more Disney? Won't be bored, we can guarantee. At Imaginary Friends.
Oh yeah, and we're also recording a podcast. So, welcome to Imaginary Friends, the podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Imaginary Friends, the podcast. I am very excited because we did our first movie night and we're going to talk about it with you today. We watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm so excited to talk about it with you guys. We're also going to do a D&D update and our usual segments. And we have a special guest here to talk to you today about the movie that we watched, and you'll get to meet them in just a bit.
Yeah, so it was session 2 of the new campaign called Ascension. And this one was a little bit more of a role play session. You guys, um, you guys were really, really funny trying to figure out how to get information out of your prisoner. So in the previous session, they had fought some hobgoblins and managed to keep the hobgoblin captain alive for questioning. However, he was a little bit more tight-lipped than they'd expected, so they had this genius plan to pretend to let him go, and then they would follow him and hope that they would lead him back to wherever he came from. And I swear to God, it was like an hour of just like Wile E. Coyote plans. It was
It's
pretty
true.
awesome to watch. And just being the DM and just like, I'm just gonna let you guys roll with it. Like whatever you choose, you choose. I'm not gonna sway you one direction or the other.
It was pretty fun. We ended up going with the plan where Josie's character turned into a rat and snuck in and pretended to eat some meat and then chewed up his ropes because he was tied up and then left. Yeah, she did a pretty good little show there for us. It was awesome.
And then, of course, he left, and so you guys followed him into the woods, but lost track of him down a ravine that led to the river.
That's right. I'd just like to say that Josie's character has talked to plants, which was great.
hmm
And so she did it. And Bruce like, and the plants all bend and turn in the direction that he went. And we were like, "Woo, it's so cool." It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he fell down a ravine. So we had to climb down the ravine. And we all did really great except for John's character. He rolled so poorly. And he fell. And then Jake's character caught him. And I honestly, Bree, I thought they were gonna take damage. I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, you rolled really high to catch him, and now I want you both to roll damage. That's what I thought you were
I
gonna
was going
say.
to, I was tempted to, but the roll was high enough that I'm like, no, they just kind of fall backwards on each other. Like he still braces the fall, but they both just kind of land on their ass. Because I didn't want to be too majestic where he like swoops in like a prince, considering that John's character is a large character versus a medium character. So like,
Yeah.
a half giant versus a human. So I'm like, no, he catches them, softens the blow, but they both end up on their butts.
Yep. And then we found some blood on a rock. Looked like the hobgoblin fell in the river, so we weren't sure if he had fallen down since, it was a big sharp fall, so and fallen in the river. So we went down the river, not in it, but we followed alongside of it. And because I'm the only character that has dark vision, apparently, I saw like a broken lump on the other side. And then Jake's character used a javelin and we tied a rope to the end of it. Basically fished, harpooned
Yeah, harpooned him
dead
out.
hob.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like dragged him across the river, and yeah, he was toast. So we're like, oh well, it didn't lead us anywhere. So then we headed back, and then we ended up finding two bards who one was trapped under. They had fallen down like a landslide or something, and one was trapped under a tree. So John's character just like basically, and Jake's character who was helping, I'm saying in quotes, and John's character just like whoo, lifted up this log. And yeah,
Yeah, it was funny
it's
because
good.
because when I was preparing it, because I wanted to have this thing, just this small little thing where they rescued this young lady who was trapped under the fallen tree, and I was like, okay, I need to know how much that, people can lift, so I know how difficult it's going to be for them to lift this tree. And I just looked right away. I immediately looked at John's character because I'm like, he's a large character. He's a Goliath. He has 18 strength. So would he be able to lift it on his own? Because I did picture the idea of him just basically palming it, like just like wrapping his big hands around it and just being able to lift it up, like just being like, this is easy. But I wanted to double check to see how difficult it was going to be, and I looked and I'm like, oh yeah, he can basically lift over 1,000 pounds. So it was a non-issue.
I know. John went to roll. He's like, should I roll strength? But he was like, don't roll.
Yeah, I'm like, you lift it without any
Yeah.
issues.
It was good. And then we met them. Oh yeah, and then we had to climb up the ravine that they had fallen down, and we
Yeah.
all did really great again, except John's character Hargrad. He again fell. It took him 3 times to try
Yeah.
to climb up the hill before he
Yeah.
could make it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
funny.
then yeah, he's I don't know. It was really hilarious. I'm like, aren't you from the mountains? He's like, this is different. There are trees. It was very funny. Or rope. I can't remember. He said that he blamed it on the rope.
I think you blamed it on the rope. Yeah.
We then we went back to the village because W wanted to keep everyone safe. And yeah, and then we spent some time in the village having like a training montage so that
Hmm.
Jake's character could train all the gnomes to take after themselves if anything happens. Because we were going to go to I think the church and find out more about what's happening.
Yeah. So you guys are headed up to the capital of your province there called Sunspire. So that's where Jake is originally from. So he's going to take you guys back to the temple of Amaranth to find out more about what's happening, hopefully.
It was really fun. I had a good time. I found out from Bree afterwards that that hobgoblin committed suicide.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
like jumped off and landed on a rock on purpose so that he didn't have to give up any information because it was better to die than be a coward and go back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I figured, you are basically a minion to the equivalent of the devil in this world. So would you rather just kill yourself now or go back for probably eternal torture? Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ugh. But you know what? It's good. It's good kind of to know that. It gives me a little more insight about what's going on, kind
yeah.
of what they're like.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that was really fun. We had a great D&D session. It's so funny now doing this with you because you're the DM.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we get 2 points of view on it.
Yeah. You guys can't shit talk me behind my back.
I would never. It's been nothing but fantastic. Don't worry.
All two games. Just get downhill from here.
We won't be playing this week because Josie's busy, but we will be playing the week after. So we won't have a D&D update for you next week unless something, I don't know, obscure happens. And now it is time for the main part of our podcast. And today we will be talking about the movie we watched during our movie night, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was really great. I enjoyed it very much. Brie and I did a Netflix party, so we got to chat while it was playing. We watched it at the exact same time. I thought that was amazing. That was really fun to do.
Yeah, that was really neat. Even though there was a few times where I accidentally paused it because either the first time it was like because I was looking up something on my other monitor and then I just went to go click to make it like active and it paused it and I was like, oops. And so I'm imagining on their end, they're like, what's happening?
It's weird though, because it doesn't show up right away, but I didn't mind. I thought it was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
About the movie, it's so funny watching it as an adult. Like I don't know. When I watched it as a kid, I was so amazed by it. Like the puppetry, all of that stuff. I didn't know what I was seeing, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be like, "Ooh, the puppetry," but I thought they were so like so funny and clever. And now watching it as an adult, especially since there's been all of these crazy superhero movies since
Hmm.
then,
Yeah.
it's a little bit like, oh, that's funny, but it's like short. Like it's not in depth at all. Everything is extremely shallow, which I
Yeah.
guess for a kids movie that's kind of
Yeah.
typical. But I just it's really funny watching it
Yeah.
now.
So I actually wanted to do a little bit of a kind of a the more you know segment about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for anybody who doesn't know. So if you did grow up in the 80s, you're probably pretty familiar with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because that's something we all kind of grew up with. And obviously it's still around. There's still new cartoons and new movies coming out. But not a lot of people actually know that it originated as a comic book. So it was a black and white and red comic book by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, which originally got released in 1984, and it took them 3 years to release the cartoon. So it's like this really weird overnight success story with TMNT, where they created this comic. It was hyper violent, black and white. Um, uh, the colors that we know for each turtle doesn't exist in the comics. They all wore the red bandanas. They all look like Raphael, essentially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So there's no color differentiation. The only way that you know who's who is through their weapons.
Oh.
So when it got kind of like when they were translating it into the cartoon, obviously they had to pare down the violence, they had to make it more colorful and make it more kid friendly, and that's where they came up with the four colors to differentiate the four turtles to make it more easier
Mm.
for kids to kind of recognize them. And it's interesting because the 80s cartoon is what most people um probably think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles originated, but it actually originated from these comic books.
Ah.
So when I was growing up, my brothers really loved the comic books and the show. My oldest brother, he absolutely loved the Eastman comics, and he actually preferred the darker violence of the Eastman comics because he was an older kid. But my brother and I, who were at the time around I think 5 and 6 or 6 and 7 when the cartoon came out was like perfect age for us to get into that. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like those are my turtles are that original 80s cartoon. And the thing I love about the movie is that the movie really does justice to what you know in the cartoon with also introducing some of the stuff that the comic had. So there's some references from the comic that are not in the cartoon that get kind of blended into the movie. So it's a nice kind of homage to both of them, and I really enjoy it.
Ah. I have to say, I did not like Casey's weird, I don't know what you call it. He called April Toots. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's funny considering that movie came out in 1990, and obviously that entire scene is to kind of show the fact that Casey is out of touch.
Right.
But the idea that April just walks away, like
Yeah.
she clearly at the time, especially for the time, is a female who is just like, I'm not, no, like I'm not going to allow you to call me those things. I'm just going to walk away from you. I mean, she does
Yeah.
a snide comment, but
But like, yeah, but she does that. But then she like likes him. It's not like
yeah,
she's like, okay, you're a sexist pig. Get out of here. He's like, oh, he's kind of cute, after like she
it's
and
still
it
it's
is a
still
product of its
1990.
time. Yeah, exactly. It totally is. I know.
Yeah,
But when I was watching that, I was like, gross. And I'm so glad that now I can feel that way. Now I'm just
yeah,
not like, oh yeah, that's just how it is. I'm like, yuck. Like I'm
yeah,
glad that
yeah,
wouldn't be okay in a
absolutely.
kids movie now.
Yeah, because
Um,
even with that scene, because I forgot about that scene, and when he starts doing it, and I was just like, oh no, and then the fact that she kind of like gives him shit for doing it, and I'm just like, way
yeah,
to go, April O'Neil, and I'm like, I love April, she's great.
I know. Her hair is fantastic. I thought it was so amazing.
Yeah, I said that you should dress up as her for Halloween because you also
Yeah,
have nice curls, so
yeah, but it's not like short. I'd have to wear a wig. But totally I could get like yellow a yellow jumpsuit or like
yeah,
a trench jacket
yeah,
like she had. That one was pretty great.
you could do your
Oh
own
my god.
version of April.
Yeah, right? I did look up like the IMDb stuff like while we
Yeah,
were watching the movie as well, and I had no idea that Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Donatello. I was like,
Yeah.
no way, I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
funny.
He's the only celebrity, quote unquote, that does voice for the character. So
Oh,
yeah,
I also forgot
everybody
about
else was just
the kid that's in it.
oh, Danny.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally forgot about him. And then when he was in it too, I'm like, I forgot about that kid in this movie. Like,
yeah.
I think even if I don't watch it again for a few years, I'll forget again. I don't know
I
why.
always get I always get this movie and the second movie mixed up a little bit because the second movie actually introduces a young man as the main character. So he befriends the turtles, but then he goes and infiltrates the Foot Clan. And then at the end of the movie,
Oh,
Vanilla Ice shows up and gives you the ninja rap, which is my favorite thing.
oh my God.
But I always forget that he doesn't show up until the second movie. I always kind of blend in my memory. It's blended together where uh, he's in the first one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think too. I think I mentioned it before that like the first time I saw this movie, I watched it. They had free pizza and it was so amazing. And then
Mhm.
I came and I watched it again and it was so good. So I watched it actually last night with my kids and John because it's a family-friendly movie. So I just want to introduce our guest, which is going to be my son, Nathan Wainwright. So here he is, everyone. Say hi.
Hi.
So we were just talking about the movie last night. Is there did you like the movie that we watched?
Yeah, I really liked it.
What did you like about it?
Well, I liked how it's hard to describe.
That's okay. What did you like? Did you like the turtles?
Yeah, I like the turtles a lot.
What did you like about them?
I liked how they were like
Awesome ninjas.
awesome ninjas, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome ninjas.
Which were your favorite ones?
I think the one with the red headband.
The guy that was mad all the time?
Yeah, the guy that was-
Raphael.
He was your favorite? Why was he your favorite?
I don't know, I just liked how he got mad all the time.
Oh, I was going to say, did you love his angry cartwheels when he was up on the roof?
Yeah.
Can you think of one moment in the movie that was your favorite?
Yeah, I liked when the good guys win.
Yeah, right?
So, Nathan, is this
Oh.
your first time? Have you ever watched anything Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before?
I think that I watched a bit of the TV show one.
Okay, the new one, where April is a young girl.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great show.
I watched it before. I don't remember where I watched it, but I remember that I watched it.
Nice. So before this movie, had you been a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or not really?
Yeah, I liked them.
Yeah. And was Raph always your favorite character?
Yeah.
Is it because he's all like he's like super cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about who's your second favorite? Do you like Mikey?
I like the blue one.
The blue one, Leo? Yeah. Is it because he has swords? That's why I like Leo.
I like how he has a blue one. I like how he has the blue mask and the swords.
Yeah.
I have another guest. So here we have my oldest son, Jack, and he watched the movie with us as well.
Yeah, I did.
So why don't you tell us what you thought of the movie?
It was great.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah.
What did you like about it?
I like how there's mutant, like ninja turtle things.
What did you like about them though? Were they funny?
They were funny and they were good at being ninjas.
Yeah, were they?
Yeah.
Yeah, did they fight all those bad guys?
Yeah. The foot.
The Foot, that's right. Who was your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Leonardo.
How come?
I like that he had swords.
Oh, right, and he's the leader?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, can you tell me one thing that you really liked about the movie? Like your favorite part in the movie?
I liked when the bad guy died.
Oh, like when he got crushed. Yeah, crushed in the garbage truck thing?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Spoiler alert, he's not
Yeah.
dead.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
Did
he
you have any
comes
questions
back.
for Jack, Bree?
Oh, how about did you like the Turtles before seeing the movie? Like, did you watch the new cartoon?
I watched the TV show.
Yeah. And did you like that?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
And the biggest question I need to know is how awesome is Shredder's helmet?
It was really cool.
So if for Halloween, which turtle are you going to dress up as?
None.
Oh, are you going to dress up as Shredder?
No.
Oh.
What are you gonna dress up as?
I don't know.
Just not a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you very much for coming and letting us ask you some questions.
You're welcome.
Bye, guys.
So it's interesting to hear your kids talk about it because again, this is something that we grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and for us, I think it was a really big deal because the cartoon was was a huge deal when it came out, and the fact that we grew up on it. But obviously, your kids are just like it's cool, but like whatever.
Because there's so much for them to watch. They have so many
Exactly.
things, like even there's almost so much that they don't watch that much TV. It's hard to
Hmm.
explain. It's when you have too many choices that you're just like I can't decide, and they just
Yeah.
don't watch. They actually don't watch very many cartoons, which is so funny to me. Like for us, you're right. Ninja Turtles was like one of a kind. There
Hmm.
wasn't any like that. It was pretty amazing. But now, like on Netflix, if you go on there, man, there's endless
Yeah.
shows for kids. Yeah, we were lucky. We had like Smurfs, Chipmunks, Ninja Turtles. It wasn't like a lot of options.
Yeah. Well, and everything was also done very strategically. Well, like number one, we had a limited number of channels unless you were one of the lucky people who had satellite. So you would always watch cartoons as like a block. So you would watch, like you said, Smurfs, maybe it was He-Man, Turtles, G.I. Joe, something along those lines. Or for me, it was like She-Ra, Ninja Turtles, uh kind of all they were not in the same block because they were from two completely different time periods. Oh no, not really. I guess they're out around the same time, 1984. But yeah, but it was like that was something that you couldn't wait to do. You couldn't wait to get up on Saturday morning and go and watch cartoons and watch that block of cartoons. But yeah, like kids have so many other things that they can do, whether it's playing video games, going online, like you said, so many things on Netflix or other streaming services. Even on TV, you have so many more options that it doesn't quite have the same weight.
No, it doesn't for sure. Yeah, they thought, and that's the thing. Even the movie last night, I was watching them watch it, and and like I said, when I went to see it, I was like it was amazing. It was this
Hmm.
awesome experience, so much that I went back the next day to see it again. And afterwards, when I was like, "Hey, how'd you guys like it?" Yeah, it was all right. It was good. I'm like, "What?" But it's so. I guess it's not anymore. And that's the
Yeah,
thing with all those crazy superhero movies that are out now. My kids are like, they've become desensitized.
desensitized. Yeah,
Yeah, like so these Ninja Turtles can fight a little bit. That's cool, but I can see the Hulk smash buildings and I can
yeah.
see, Superman kill everybody and Batman too.
But even if you look at the most recent movies for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where it's that very grotesque CG version of them.
Oh, I
It's
forgot about
hyper
those.
violent. It's very much about explosions and special effects and all that stuff. And but that to me is looking at the difference between what kids nowadays are have versus what we had. So in 1990, going and seeing these animatronic turtles was phenomenal. And this is one of the last, or this was the last film that Jim Henson ever worked on, and that was cutting edge at the time.
Mhm.
The fact that they could do radio controlled facial expressions on these turtles in these latex suits was phenomenal. So seeing it as a kid, you're just like, oh my god, like that. This is super realistic. Like this is crazy. It's taking it straight from the cartoon onto the screen. Whereas now, I bet you those kids are just like those look like puppets. Like
Yeah.
they don't look real. They don't look like they, um, uh, you know. Again, looking at the new versions where they are very hyper realistic to the point of uncanny.
I don't like
Um,
them.
no,
No,
they're creepy,
my
creepy.
kids actually they didn't say, "Oh, they're puppets." They liked them. They really liked them.
Oh,
And see,
that's good.
I think they liked them more because I remember we didn't watch the new Ninja Turtle movies because I was like, "That's scary. That look at their faces. I'm never gonna get that out of my mind." So we didn't watch them.
Hmm.
But yeah, like gross. I don't yeah, they
No.
like these ones just fine. You
Oh,
know,
that's
I
good.
think that that was like they could have peaked there. That was good. They could have just left it at that. They probably did they did.
No, the new
Ugh.
ones. I will say that the second, the sequel to the current Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, which I think it's only just the two and only going to be just the two, was actually the only one I watched. I never watched the first one because it would look terrifying, but I watched the second one because it had Krang in it, and aside from the way that they look, so again, it's nightmare fuel. The way that they've CG'd those turtles is nightmare fuel. But the story itself is so conducive to what the cartoon was. It was actually a pretty fun movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I liked about this movie was that it's funny. That's like
Yeah.
when you know when they're poor April, you know, her store is on fire and
Hmm.
Casey's listening to her answering machine pick up
It's
that
just
she got fired or whatever,
yeah.
and it's hanging and the string is like slowly on fire. And then when he's like, ah, what does he say? And it goes right in time with the string finally, the wire breaking and it falls. Sorry to drop this on you, he says, and then
Yeah.
it falls. You know, I was like, oh, that's a groaner. But it was really funny, you know, like some like that's one of the things in that movie that I love is that it's full of like these silly puns. So you
Yeah.
don't feel, even though it has a lot of violence in it, you don't feel it that much. It's like the Avengers movie, like it's
Hmm.
funny on top of all the violence, so you're
Yeah.
not really like actually noticing the violence that much or how violent the violence is.
Yeah.
Like I have to say that when Shredder gets squished in the garbage truck, I had forgotten about that. And when Casey just walks over and just is like, whoops, and like thinks he's crushing a man to death. And I was like, they just kind of skip right over that Casey just
Yeah.
murdered someone. You know, it's like, oh, that's really dark. Oh my God.
I like he's just like, oops, and I'm like,
Yeah,
you just committed murder.
yeah. And it
Even
was like
though
a funny joke. Ha
spoiler, he doesn't, because Shredder comes
Yeah,
back. It's fine. He
that's
comes out of the
good.
trash pile. Pew, pew. I actually really enjoy the second one. For me, the first and the second one are great. I will never watch any of the other ones.
How
I
many are
I
there?
think there's three or four. I can't remember.
Oh.
Of that series. I know there's one. I know the third one is the one where they go back in time to like feudal Japan.
Of
But I
course
can't
they
remember if
do.
there's one after that. Somebody will correct me if my husband is here. Totally correct me.
Oh my God. That's like
Um,
what they always do when they run out of stories is, damn, we must have time travel.
it's cop out, total cop out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, because the second one's actually pretty good because it gives you a little bit more of those characters and the young kid that they are helping. There's like a little bit more of a relationship there.
Oh, okay.
And again, they're getting him to kind of infiltrate the foot, and so you get to go and see like the new clubhouse, and there's like a really cool skateboarding scene, and then of course the Vanilla Ice ninja rap, which is the greatest thing. So I do recommend the second one, if you get a chance to watch it.
Awesome.
I mean, I haven't
Okay.
watched it in probably like 25 years, but
You remember it being awesome.
I
That's
remember it
your
being awesome.
disclaimer.
Yeah,
When I watched it 25 years ago, it was fantastic.
yeah. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
they had all these toys that were
Mhm.
out because of that movie. That's right. Ooze. You could buy stuff that came with ooze. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
one of my friends, he loves the turtles, and he has like a collection in his house that has uh they're called so there's companies out there that make these really high-end collectible statues of pop culture things, and they have these things called premium formats, and premium formats are like giant size. So we have a couple for Marvel comics and some DC ones, and they're probably about 18 inches tall, if not a little bit taller, maybe like almost 2 feet tall. But my friend bought the Turtles ones, and I think they're almost like 2 to 3 feet tall. Like they're these giant, beautiful
Whoa.
statues of the animated film, not the animated film, sorry, this version, the 1990 film. But for Christmas, we got him a replica of the ooze canister from from the movie, and you could actually get like slime that so one end had like the ooze slime in it, so you could play with this like fluorescent green ooze.
Yeah, that's the stuff I remember. They'd be like, you can use real ooze, and then you say bleh, and it would go on like the figurine or whatever. I remember the commercials for that. So
I'm pretty sure
funny.
they still have that with the new cartoon.
Oh, probably, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how they became Ninja Turtles. One more thing before we move on. How in the movie does Splinter get to be so smart in the first place?
Well, and that's the interesting part is that, and I forgot about that in this movie, they go with Splinter's origin from the comic book where he is Master Yoshi's rat, and then he learns the
Yeah,
ninja techniques from
yeah, and then
his.
like scratches Shredder's face.
Yeah,
Um, but he's just a rat. Like he's
yeah.
hasn't been in any ooze or anything yet,
No,
right?
no. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like maybe they just make cooler rats in Japan. I don't know. But in the um cartoon and in the recent cartoons too, they've changed the origin where Splinter is Master Yoshi. So when he gets infected by the ooze, instead of, you know, becoming a mutant. Gonna rewind a little bit. Do you remember Bebop and Rocksteady from the cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were originally humans and they get turned into a warthog and a rhinoceros. And that's the same thing with Splinter, where he was a human, but when he came in contact with the ooze, a rat was also there. And then he basically got the genetics of a rat. So he was a human that turned into a rat. So that
Hold
made sense
on.
on why he knew how to be a ninja.
Hold on. Does that mean the rat became a human mutant that was also in the ooze with
I
Splinter?
don't think so. I don't know if that was ever addressed.
There seems to be a lot of things like that. But yeah, I really loved the scene where, Shredder or Splinter's in the cage and he's like, I watched my master, and he's like doing the
Doing kung
the,
fu.
the ninja,
Yeah.
this little rat puppet.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is he so smart? I
Yeah.
don't get it.
In
I've got
in
pets. They don't do that stuff.
they don't practice kung fu or not kung fu, sorry, karate.
Or,
uh,
they watch me, cooking some eggs and flipping pancakes, and they're doing flipping pancakes motions watching me, you know?
yeah, in the new movie, and this is 100% from things that I've heard because I haven't actually seen the recent. Again, I saw the second one, I never saw the first one. Apparently, he learns it from a how to do karate book.
No! Are you
Yeah.
serious?
So it's like a illustrated book, and that's how Splinter learns it's from this book. Like that's even more ridiculous. Because
Oh
he,
my god!
yeah. Anyway,
And then he teaches the turtles?
yeah,
Oh my god, that's really funny. Nope. Okay. So, just want to let everyone know that our next movie is my pick, and it's going to be Rosemary's Baby, which I'm very excited to watch with Brie.
definitely
And
not kid friendly.
no, it's not kid friendly. It'll be like a late night, gonna watch this when the kids are in bed kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, could you imagine? And we'll have my kids on again.
I didn't sleep for a week.
Yeah, traumatized and crying everywhere. Yeah, so
I
that's the one we're going to talk about next time. How long will that be, Brie? Like, when are we doing the next one?
well, I think it's monthly, so probably this time next month.
Okay, this time next month is when we'll be doing it. We might have an extra surprise with it. We're still talking about an idea. I
Yeah.
won't tell you what it is. It's a secret. Okay, so we're going to talk about our favorite thing now. Brie, would you like to talk about your favorite thing?
Sure. Other than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, my favorite thing this week has actually been replaying BioShock. So I mentioned last week that I did the Humble Bundle and I bought BioShock, which is one of my favorite video games. And so I'm playing the remastered version, and I forgot how challenging that game is. That game is hard.
What's it about?
Um,
I don't know what that
so
is.
so BioShock is a really amazing series. It's about kind of this dystopian pseudo future. So it actually has a blend of like old timey, um, almost like 1920 Art Deco kind of aesthetic, and everything is very like, the TVs are the old tube TVs that you would find in like the 1950s. So it's like this blend of like old timey kind of radio technology thing, but it's blended in this like kind of uh, odd dystopian world. So there's a city called Rapture, and it uh, it is underwater.
Okay.
So this the guy, I'm trying to remember what his first name is. I should know his last name is Ryan. He wanted to create a society where it he could basically have a socialist society. So he wanted, the money that you made through the hard work is yours, kind of a thing. So he's trying to almost create this socialist utopian kind of world on the backs of people. Um, but so the character that you're playing is in a plane crash because he's heading to Rapture, and then you find out that this entire world is basically on fire, both
What?
literally and figuratively on fire. So the whole thing is like they've toyed with mutations. So you have these stuff. It's called splicing, and you basically splice superpowers into yourself. So as the character, you have the ability to like throw out lightning and throw out fire and do telekinesis. So, but still at the same time, it's a first-person shooter. So you also have like weapons to fight things, but you also have like these cool powers to use.
Okay.
But because of these experiments, basically the experiments go wrong, and the entire world is basically, or this entire society is destroyed. And so you're trying to go through and figure out what happens, but you're kind of being manipulated by the players, like the political players in this world. But
Oh.
it's a pretty dark, very scary kind of setting because again, you're just underwater. Everything is dark and flickery. You have these kind of mutated kind of humans coming up, and they wear like animal masks and stuff, and they come up and they try and attack you.
Oh my God.
And it's just like a free for all. Like everybody's trying to loot each other and kill each other, and you're just trying to survive and trying to get figure out what's kind of happening here. And then the second one is also in Rapture, but the third one, which is Bioshock Infinite, is like a very kind of I'm trying to think of like a good time period for it, but I'd probably say like 1950s, oh maybe even earlier, like 1930s, um, like Americana type feel. So it's above ground, it's normal, but you're just like a guy trying to save a girl. Uh,
Okay.
and yeah, it's just like this survival first person shooter game, but the story is phenomenal, and I'm not doing it any justice because it's great. Um, but the thing about it is I actually really hate first person shooters because I'm really bad at aiming. So as a gamer, I'm terrible with guns. And so the thing that I always loved about it is because you have what are called plasmids, so those are your superpowers, it helps me do things so that I'm not quite as bad with the
Okay.
gun. So like right now I have the power to freeze, so I can like freeze somebody and then shoot them and they shatter.
So it's easier.
So it's
Makes
a
it
little
easier
bit
for you.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still like a game where you have to be really smart when you play it, because you can get ambushed really quickly. So and there's some bad guys that are very, very difficult to kill, and so you have to be really smart about it. And that's probably the other than the story, because the story is really intriguing, the gameplay is really great because you have to be kind of sneaky and you have to be, and there's like an adrenaline in it because you're just like looking around the corners and being like, okay, is it safe? Can I go through? And you can hear the people talking. So you're like, okay, I know somebody's in this room with me. They're probably going to jump out at me at some point. So you're just like, just like peeking around corners, trying to figure out, like, find like a spot to go and hunker down until you can see where they're coming from and trying to kill them because they're going to kill you. So it's like this really great tense game that I absolutely love. So being able
Nice.
to kind of go back and replay it is quite interesting because the original game came out in 2005, I want to say, if in and around there. Um, and so they've remastered it so it's better graphics and that kind of stuff. And so it amplifies even more that kind of like horror feel of it. And I'm just like, this is actually
Oh.
really intense.
Nice. I'm glad you have
Yeah.
something else to do too.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually funny because the reason why I wanted to go through it is when I was playing BioShock Infinite, that was the only one that I never finished because my Xbox crashed.
Ah.
So I basically rage quit because I was in the game, you have what's called a sky hook. So the sky hook allows you to like basically do zip lining things, but it's like permanently attached. Like you keep it in your hand, but you also kill things with it. Like you can punch people with it, and it does some good damage. But then you also have other weapons like guns and whatever. So in the game, I was in this part where you're basically in a mental asylum, and all of the people, if anybody spots you, you're basically going to get like bombarded with dudes. So this is probably the most intense video game I've ever played where I'm just sitting there and I'm trying to be like super sneaky, trying not to get detected. I have zero ammo. I'm pretty much all I have, like all of my power is gone. Like I'm empty. I have no items to do anything, and I'm in this basically in the middle of this insane asylum. And again, the moment somebody sees you, you're toast. So
Oh.
I was just about out the door. I had made it through. I could see the exit and I was doing okay. Me and my
Oh.
skyhook for the win. And then my Xbox crashed.
No wonder you rage quit. I would have
So,
rage quit
yeah.
too. Oh my
So I
god.
so I basically I put down my controller and I have never looked at BioShock Infinite again. And I'm like, it's been enough time that I'm
You
gonna
can let
do
it
it.
go.
I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it again. And I'm using my new computer, so hopefully I won't have any problems with this version. But I'm definitely like pretty sour about it.
Yeah, I totally because
Yeah,
that's like a lot of time and
it
effort and
is.
like
It is.
yeah, and you
Yeah,
don't want to do that again.
yeah. And
Sometimes you get to the point of something, like that when you're just like, "No, I can't. I can't do it again. It's not happening. I've
no,
done this. I'm
yeah.
out."
And the worst part is I was really close to finishing the game. It's really close to the end of the full game, and I was just like, I can't believe my Xbox crashed on me in that exact moment. And so the previous save spot, again, I have no weapons. I have
Oh.
I'm basically I just have my health left. I don't have anything else, and my sky hook. So it's just me punching a lot. Yeah. So I love that game. It's beautiful. The story is great, but fuck my Xbox.
Yeah, right? Okay. My favorite thing this week is DuckTales.
Oh, I love it.
Yep, the new one. I really like it. Okay,
So
I'm not
good.
gonna lie. The old DuckTales, like I think it's from the 80s. I know
Yep.
there was something in the 90s that I
80s,
didn't
90s.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the voices of all the ducks. I didn't like Donald. I always loved. Donald has been my like favorite Disney character ever since forever. He's so amazing, so angry. um, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I didn't like them. They were all the same. Their
Yeah.
voices were weird. I didn't like the stories. I really didn't like Daisy, how she was like, I can't do anything because I'm Donald's girlfriend. Like I didn't like that.
Daisy's not even in the show.
Maybe I'm thinking of like the cartoons that Disney had a lot where
Yeah.
Daisy was in it. So, but these new cartoons are amazing. Have you watched them?
Oh
They're
God,
so good.
I'm fully caught up.
Yeah, me too. I know, right? So it's on Disney, it's on the Disney Channel, but you can watch it on Disney Plus up to a point. And then I bought the next few seasons on iTunes because I was like, I need to see more DuckTales. Um, so
Yeah.
David Tennant, who is someone that I love, he is like I rarely am I like, oh, I love this person, they're famous and I love him. But I love David Tennant. I just think he's so good at everything he does. And he seems like such a nice dude. But he's Scrooge McDuck, and he does such a good job with his voice. And
Mhm.
then Huey, Dewey, and Louie have their own personalities and their own stories, and they're really well done. One of them's really smart, but he's also kind of like a little flaky. He gets a little intense. One of them is like a very much. It's so trendy right now to have his phone all the time, and he's like always caught up on everything that's trendy and things like that. And then the other one is like a schemer, and he's always
Yeah.
trying to get money.
The evil twin.
But yeah, right, yeah. And then I remember in the old cartoon, there was Webby. She was there,
Mhm.
but she was whiny and she just complained about how the boys weren't nice to her, and I just didn't like her at all. But in this one, she kicks ass. She's
Yeah.
like tough. Her grandma is an ex-spy, right? she works for Scrooge, but used to like partner with him in spy adventures. And now like Webigail lives there, and she knows all this stuff from her granny. And they go on these crazy adventures together. And the boy's mom was trapped on the moon. Della Duck, and then she comes back, and Donald Duck is really good. He takes like anger management, but only because he gets angry because he's worried about his nephew's safety. And it has awesome story arcs. There'll be a season story arc, which I think is amazing, and plus these like little stories in between. But they do such funny things. There's a character who I think it's supposed to make fun of Steve Jobs, is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, right. He's an
Essentially.
owl. Yeah.
He's a pigeon. He's a pigeon.
No, is he? Are
Yeah.
you sure?
Yeah.
Maybe he is a pigeon.
Yeah,
There's another character whose name is Allison. And she works for one of my favorite characters, probably my favorite cherry. Yeah. He's so funny, Glomgold. Oh my god. Like the word hate this character. It's like if you say it out loud, it's amazing. He's this like Scottish duck who is a rival of Scrooge, but there's like gonna be some spoilers here, but like later on he loses his memory, but he actually turns into what he used to be, which originally he was from South Africa. And all this stuff. And Scrooge like did something mean to him accidentally when he was a kid, and ever since then he's decided he's going to be Scottish and be a millionaire and like rival Scrooge. It's just insane, but it's so good. So anyway, that's like my favorite thing this week is DuckTales. I can't wait till there's more of them.
Yeah.
They're so fantastic.
That makes me so happy. I love that new series. Because I'm a huge fan of the original DuckTales. Because that's again something I grew up with, is the Disney Afternoon stuff. But seeing this remake is just so brilliant, and the voice cast is ridiculous. Yeah, but David Tennant, Della Duck is Paget Brewster, who's amazing. It's just the cast is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And then like you said, like the characters are much more fleshed out. They actually have character, and they're all just amazing kind of in their own way, which is great. So there's not like, you're not just like, oh well, that person is like whatever, who cares. You kind of invest yourselves in all of the characters, even the bad guys. Like you said, Glomgold is phenomenal. He is just gold. Oh man, I love it. It makes me want to go watch it now.
I know, it's so good. I'm waiting, just waiting for more episodes.
Yeah, because when it got announced, originally, everybody hated the animation style of it, but I loved it. Like I love every bit of it. And the thing that's kind of cool is that everything is more toward what the original comics were versus what the TV show was. So obviously there's moments where, and I think it's a lot of dream sequences where you see them in their 1980 cartoon costume, and it's pretty hilarious. But the fact that Donald's wearing his black sailor suit, that's from the comic. Scrooge's outfit, that's from the comic. The idea that Della's in it is amazing, because again, that's in the comic. So it's really, really, really awesome. And it also makes the nephews not as bad, because in the original Donald Duck comics, and I don't know if you know this, the reason why they live with Donald is that they pulled a prank on their parents and killed them.
So but you know what? When I started watching this one, I actually started looking up stuff, because I was like, well, who's their dad, right? So I actually found a bunch of like family tree stuff online. They have no idea who he is. Like no one's ever really had a dad. But I guess that's one thing, but they've done a few different ones.
Yeah.
They did one where Donald's like, oh, your mom is can't handle you, so you're gonna come and stay with me. They've done that. But I know there's been a few, and I did know that, because I was like, I love the show so much. I was like, I need to know more, because they keep putting in these characters. I'm like, who's that? And the character actually is from the comics. Like stuff. When I looked up their family tree, I was like, whoa, there's a bunch of people that I've seen in this show on this old style drawn family tree. It looks like it's drawn in like the 50s, like weird drawing style. I'm like, there it is. I know this guy. This is Scrooge's nephew. It's so funny.
It's been really kind of neat watching it with my husband, because my husband is like 100% like Donald Duck is his favorite character in almost everything. and he loves those original comics, and he has all the Scrooge comics. And so we'll be watching it, and he'll just be like freaking out because they'll pull somebody obscure from the comics into the
I
show, and
know.
he'll know who they are, what their story is, and everything like that. So it's been pretty neat watching it with him because most people have like a kind of a base knowledge of DuckTales, but he knows like everything about DuckTales, and it's great.
Nice. Well, that's the cool thing about it that they do pull in this weird stuff, but then they also add new stuff like
Hmm.
Flintheart Glomgoals. I mean, or like the pigeon guy, which I can't remember his name. I even the stories themselves though are really well done. That there's stuff in it which I find is like difficult with when I'm watching kid shows when it's just episodic, where it's
Yeah,
just like one episode, whatever. But with this one, they'll have something in like episode 2 of a season that will come into play like in episode 8 of
yeah,
that season. And if you didn't see it in the second episode, you wouldn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, that's amazing for a kids show. That's not something that they normally do because they don't think kids are smart enough. But my kids were. They love it. They think it's like we have because I bought this stuff on iTunes, I get emails to say if there's a new episode and they ask me like daily, is there another DuckTales? Is there another It's so good.
sorry, going back to the voice cast because again, this voice cast is insane. The idea that Catherine Tate is Cruella, or not Cruella, is Magica De
Yeah,
Spell
Magic
is
of the Spell.
so fantastic.
I
And especially
know,
because
she's
I
so
loved
good.
Magica even in the original one. So when they brought her back, and that whole arc with her was so fantastic.
Mhm.
And the fact that she continues to kind of pop up, and now she's like basically homeless.
I know, she's so and she was working in, like, their version of Chuck E. Cheese
Yeah,
or whatever. I know.
fun zone. The fun is in
Fun
the
zone.
zone.
That's right. How about how they have those 2 roosters that make, footstools or whatever on a
Yeah,
TV show, and
yeah,
it's like, "Oh my god," stuff like that. It's so funny. It's
yeah,
so smart, you
yeah.
know?
It's so good. It's so good.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that show. We should just have an entire episode about that show because it's fantastic.
I know, it's so good. But we're gonna have to move on so that people aren't listening to us for the rest of their lives. So let's move on to our weekly wisdom, where we tell you about something that we have learned. And you can take that or leave it, my friends. Take it or leave it. Okay. So would you mind if I did mine first?
Of course.
That's okay?
Not mind. I
All right.
don't mind. I mean,
I know that's funny when people say that. Do you mind if I do this? Yeah, yeah. So mine is do it right the first time. So I'm saying this because we moved the bowler out of the garage into a place where we pay to have it stored, and it's outside. So I've been worried about it for the last couple weeks because it's been raining and hailing, and then thunderstorms, and then raining, thunderstorms, yeah, and then so anyway, I wanted to check on it today, and I brought a bunch of stuff with me. I'm like, it's probably gonna have broken windows, it's gonna have leaks. I don't know. And we went to check on it, and you guys, it's perfect. It's perfect. The only thing that's weird is there's like a couple dead flies on the dining room table or dining table. It's not a room. Yeah, but everything else is great. There were 0 leaks. There were 0 broken windows. Everything was perfect. So I just want to say that when I worked on the bowler, it was really hard work. Like it took me a long time and I could have done shortcuts, but I didn't. And it's paying off now. And I think it's really important to mention that because I have moments while I'm doing a project, especially if I'm tired or if it's dragging, where I think, I could just do this. It's fine. It's not going to matter and take a shortcut. But I will pay for it later. Future Erin will swear it past Erin when something breaks or peels off because I didn't, prep right and sand or put the right primer on. So I wanted to skip a step. But if I do it right, if I do it the right way, future Erin, which is present Erin talking about past Erin, is going to say, good job, good job. I think it's super important. Do it
yes.
right the first time and you will be happy.
It'll save you also a lot of money as
That's
well.
right. Yeah, that's right. There's nothing that's the problem with DIY stuff, like, big movement of that the last few years that people will do things themselves and they do take shortcuts and they don't but nobody's paying them, right? Because they're doing it themselves, so they slack. and then pipes burst or something leaks, and then it ends up costing so much more money than if you had just paid to do it in the first place. So that's another thing, if you're going to not do a good job, or you don't know what you're doing, or you're not going to be able to do all the right steps, maybe hire someone. Maybe pay that little bit of cost now so that you don't have to pay later. Leaky toilets can cause a lot of damage.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That is
so
great wisdom.
that's my wisdom for this week.
Mine actually kind of ties in with that. And I think we're seeing the repercussions of not doing it right the first time. And I'm going to be a little bit brash about it, but wear masks, people.
Yeah,
Like, I'm just watching the numbers in the States and it flabbergasts me. So I have a friend who lives
yeah,
in California, and I'm constantly talking to her, and she's just like, she's been quarantined. When she goes out, she wears a mask, she stays away from people and doing all the right things. But the idea that she's watching everybody else around her like just dismiss that, and no wonder they're in the state that they're in, because they're just
mhm,
not, they would rather complain about their freedoms and themselves versus having the common courtesy to wear a mask so that they're not infecting other people. And now their numbers are skyrocketing. Everything is getting shut down again. So, again, let's just do it right the first time. Let's just follow the rules, wear our masks, and we'll get out of this.
yeah,
And it definitely, you can see the differences, because, even though, we're still getting the occasional spike, but our spikes are still in the double digits, not in the 5 digits like they are
yeah.
in the
Oh my
States.
God, I know.
Um, but that's because, like, I went out the other day and we went to IKEA, and for the most part, most people were wearing masks. They were doing what they needed to do. I mean, there were still people that weren't, and I was a little bit paranoid about them and made sure I stayed away. But, at least seeing the majority of people doing the right thing is great, because that means we're going to get out of this faster. Things are going to be opening up faster. We're going to see things normalizing.
Also, to add on to that, if you go somewhere and they have the place set up so that people have the least amount of contact, follow the rules. They put
Yes.
them there to help everybody so
Hmm.
that we can be okay. They're not there. It's not someone saying you have to do this. You know what I mean? People, sometimes I don't understand people. I went to the zoo recently and I had people like that. They had it all really well marked out. And if everyone follows the rules, then everyone would be safe going to the zoo. But there were people who, I don't know, it felt like they were doing it on purpose. They just wanted to rebel against being told what to do, I guess. But they would just on purpose turn around and just go the opposite way. So then they were like right next to me and my kids. I'm like, follow the arrows. There are arrows there for you to follow so that you don't have to be close to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So please, everybody, please just follow. If you're in a space and they set it up for you to be safe. Be safe. Let them help you be safe. I don't know. I have such a hard time with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, just watching to me, the insanity of what's happening, just south of our border is just so disheartening, because unfortunately, it's not helping them look good to the rest of the world as well.
Well, it's not even
Ugh.
that. I mean, this is a global problem,
Hmm.
right? So if everybody else gets better and or like most Canadians actually haven't had it. So if
Yeah.
the states like is still burning when we're going to be burning, like we'll still
Yeah.
have the chance
Oh,
of getting
exactly.
it if they
Yeah.
have it, right? So
Yeah.
we kind
Well,
of
to
have
me,
to like work together globally.
yeah. Well, and to me, it's like, when you're a little kid, and you're like, you ruined it for the rest of us, so none of us get it, right? It's like, you did something, so now nobody gets a cookie,
Yeah,
because
that's
that
exactly it.
one country just won't
Yes.
smarten up.
Yeah, that's exactly
It's
right.
like, come
And
on.
Brazil, and Brazil. Brazil's
And
not
Brazil,
doing
yeah.
great either.
Yeah. That's actually, it's in my one of my colleagues is actually in Brazil. So um he's been telecommuting like the rest of us, but from Brazil, and he's been giving us kind of the news that's coming out of there, and I'm just like, oof, oof.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I have a friend in California, and I have a friend and I have a colleague in Brazil, and it's just no good.
That's
No
gotta be
bueno, as I like to
stressful for
say.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think my favorite I've seen two really amazing explanations for wearing a mask. So the first one, it was cool because there was zero context. It was if you and somebody else are naked and that person pees on you, you're gonna get wet. If you are wearing pants and that person pees on you, you're still gonna probably get a little bit wet. Not as much, but you're still gonna get a little bit wet. But
Hmm.
if that person just wore pants, you wouldn't get wet.
That's right. Exactly.
I was like, that's brilliant because it's true. It's just like
It,
if you just wear your mask, then you wouldn't be risking other people's lives by getting them wet. Sorry, I don't. Normally, I'm not this kind of like harsh about it. I try and do things very diplomatically, but I am just again, I have people in those areas at risk. I am terrified a little bit for them. Even if they are, they're both, in their 30s and 40s, they're healthy people, they're probably going to be okay, but I still don't want them to get it because we don't know what the long-term effects of this
no.
virus is going to be. If I've been reading news of like an 18-year-old kid who gets it, who's completely healthy, and he ends up dying. And so it's like it doesn't it could be anybody is at risk of death because of this virus because we don't know how it affects you in an individual way. So
Hmm.
just have the common courtesy to keep other people safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because the other thing I saw today was actually really great, where it was somebody who was like, you're stepping on my freedoms to wear a mask, and then the other person was like, great, I'm just going to eat this peanut butter sandwich, and the person who didn't want to wear a mask is like, you can't do that, I'm allergic. That's going to kill me. And then she's like, yeah, but if you have the right to not wear a mask, then I have a right to eat this peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
So both are putting other people at risk. But clearly
Yeah.
we make everybody is like, oh, well, we'll make sure that we have peanut free whatever so other people don't die. So just have that same courtesy. Oh,
I
frustrates me.
know. I know it's true.
I just want to say that, my husband and I were out yesterday and we were wearing our masks. We went to IKEA, we went to a couple other stores to do a little bit of errand running. And yes, wearing a mask is not great. It's stuffy, but as much as it sucks, I look at, people in the medical industry. I look at the people that are at frontline services who have to wear these masks 7 to 8 hours or more a day. And so
Hmm.
I'm like, I can wear a mask for an hour while I go and do my grocery shopping. Like that is so little compared to what everybody else is doing, like what these frontline workers are doing. So I'm just like, I don't have a right to complain because these people are doing it for our safety, for their own safety all day.
Hmm.
And that is great. And so this is something where it's like I can't take for granted the fact that they're doing this for my safety and my health.
No, right? I know. It's true. Good. That's a really good point. They're doing that for us exactly. So we should be doing this so that they can stop.
Exactly.
I'm going to move on now to
Yeah.
positive spin. We can do it. We're going to positive spin this. I'm going to have a difficulty because I have a hard time, it seems like, with weather. But I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about what I like to call endless rain because
Mm-hmm.
that is what we've been having here in Calgary since it stopped snowing. It's
Yeah,
what it
pretty
feels
much.
like.
Pretty much.
It just turned to rain. We don't normally get this much rain. Normally, around now, it's sunny during the day, it gets really hot, and then you start to see some clouds come, and we'll have like a downpour around like 5 or 6 for about like what, half an hour usually, and then it stops. That's usually what we get around now, and it happens every year. But what we've been getting this year is just rain, like as if
Yeah.
we're in Vancouver or something. Like it
Yeah.
just keeps raining, and it's not warm. It's not warm rain, it's freezing cold rain. Yesterday I was in like a sweater and like hard pants, like
What are hard pants?
not soft. Like jeans. I was so cold. And we took our dog out for a walk and we were soaked to the bone. It rained the entire day. It's just like I'm kind of honestly I'm a little worried about everybody's mental state if it stays
Mm-hmm.
this way all summer, because
Mm-hmm.
we had a long cold winter, then we were stuck inside, and then then it's raining all summer. And we like, it's hard enough living like we're living right now without being able to like go camping and have a lot of fun or do anything. Go, I know things are opening, but I don't want to actually go to any of it. I don't want to go to a movie theater. That feels like death box.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
here's a ticket to a movie that could possibly kill you later. You know, like I don't want to do that, you know? So we're just trying to like, outside is the safest. So
Mm-hmm.
when it's nice out, we go outside and that's helping. But it's endless rain, so we're
Yeah.
stuck
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It's funny because I moved from Vancouver specifically because it never stops raining.
Oh my gosh.
So I constantly suffered from seasonal depression while living there because it was just gray all the time, and the city is gray. Everything in Vancouver is gray, except for
Oh,
Stanley Park. That's like the only green you really get. So moving here, the thing I was always like, yeah, sunshine, even in the winter, like at least we can see the blue sky. Now I'm just like, stop it,
I know.
stop raining. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because it does. It feels like Vancouver where it's never ending. And we had this problem last year. So last year, summer felt like it was so little because I think we had like 2 weeks of sunshine in August, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's right. It was different for me last year because I took my trip to BC for two
That's
weeks
true.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
did rain for like the first bit. And then it was hot because then we were in a Soyuz where it's a very hot place,
yeah.
hot and dry. So that helped, but we can't go anywhere this year. There's no
Hmm.
escape, right? We're just like, yeah, you're right. It has been rainy. Ugh.
Yeah,
Okay, we got a positive spin this business because otherwise I'm just gonna fall into a pit of despair
yeah.
where it'll be raining in there.
But before we positive spin, my last complaint is
Oh
that
yes,
the
that's true.
the other difference is that in Vancouver it just like misted on you, which is annoying in its own self, like its own way. But here it's also the threat of hailstorm, which I have already been affected by, thunderstorms, which cause
Hmm.
wildfires, and flash floods. So fuck the weather.
I'm gonna say we get a lot of flash floods. We get so
Yeah.
many flash floods that they've actually built in our drainage system couldn't handle it in the city, so they've been building ponds and they're good because the ducks can go on them and everything, and they have filtration systems built in, but it's so there's a place for all the extra water to go to because it
Hmm.
was like popping manhole covers off like
Yeah.
with all the pressure because it flash floods, it just pours rain so hard for like half an hour that it's too much at one time. So that's
Yeah.
actually a big problem with our city, and they're actually building in things to help with that. Oh, that's a positive spin. Now we have these nice ponds.
It's true. It's true. Every neighborhood now has like their own little pond, which I do consider to be just like the mosquito habitat. But
No, the water flows. It isn't. It isn't. Mosquitoes
no,
only lay eggs in still water.
yeah.
There could be mosquitoes from all the wet grass, but yeah,
Mhm.
they actually have filtration systems put in. So all the vegetation that's there, the water's always moving. It doesn't just go to the pond and stay there.
Mhm.
It keeps moving. So it goes through all like the grass and everything naturally, and then when it goes back into the river, because we have three rivers in Calgary, one's a big one. When it goes back in, it's basically cleaned. It's cleaned up of everything and it goes in nice and fresh, which is really cool, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's actually really good now that I guess never ending rain has made forced the city to put these ponds in, which are really nice. They're aesthetically beautiful, you know, there's like bushes and they make them really green and
Mhm.
nice, and they're usually around like there's a path around them you can
Mhm.
walk. I run around one of them. There's two actually, three really close to my neighborhood. So I can run. I can just get there from a walk from my house. So that's
It's
a nice thing.
yeah,
Yay.
yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Everything is very lush.
Everything's very green.
Yeah,
That's true right now.
yeah. We definitely get nice green summers. Like our grass grows like crazy.
Hmm.
Which is good because like we have a very patchy backyard because we seeded it ourselves because we don't have the care to do any landscaping. So the rain does keep our backyard actually looking pretty lush, which is nice. The other thing, and this is very personal to me, but I love the smell of rain on the sidewalk. It's probably one of my favorite smells in the entire world is the smell of rain
That's
on the sidewalk.
true.
Yeah,
There's a word for that. I can't remember what it is. I'll put it in the show notes.
yeah.
I remember there's a word. It's specifically for the smell of like rain in dirt. like that
Yeah.
smell from the sidewalk. I'll remember it later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For some
I love
reason,
that
there's
smell too.
something so clean about the smell of rain, and then I don't know if it's because, especially in Alberta, because we're a very dusty province, and so to me, it's almost like the rain kind of washes that dust away, and there's something kind of awesome about that.
That's true.
Um, so it's not quite as brown
Yeah, I
with
have
all the
lived
dust.
here when it's been really dry and it does get super brown. I've seen tumbleweeds here, right? So,
Oh yeah, I have tumbleweeds in my backyard. So
yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. One thing I like about it is that I have very painful sinuses. Not like the kind where it's filled with like infected snot, but where because it's so it's so dry that it clogs up like the passages. And
mm,
then if there's any change in pressure or if when it's really dry, which it is here all the time, even when it's raining, it's still the air is still dry. It's really
yeah.
weird. But it burns up my sinuses and then you have 4 sinuses and they all hurt, right? So it's quite painful for me actually. So when it's raining a bunch, it helps a tiny bit. It makes like the air a little less arid, which, like I mean a little less. It's still I still have the burning when I breathe, but it's like I'm like it's gotten me to the point where I'm like I can smell it. It's like 12% humidity in the air. But it's helping a bit. One thing that I really love, and because it's summer, I open my windows at night. I really like the sound of like we have a bunch of trees by our
Mm.
windows, so I like that shh of the sound of the leaves. But the sound of rain falling is really awesome. I love that sound. You know, it's super nice. So at night, sometimes I get to fall asleep listening to rain, which is pretty cool.
I would also say a big positive for how much it's raining, especially in this area, is because it's raining, we're not going to probably see the amount of wildfires that we normally would.
Right.
I know 2 years ago, the wildfires were so bad that like the cities looked apocalyptic. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was such bad air quality that people would have to escape to places like the mall that had air conditioning because not everybody in the city obviously has air conditioning.
Yeah.
We're one of the lucky few. So they would actually be like, you need to go to a mall or a store or something like that just to be in air conditioning because the air quality was so terrible
Yeah.
due to the amount of wildfires. And so the last 2 years, because it has been wetter, we've actually had really nice air.
Yep, that's true. Oh, you're right. That's right. It was so smoky. And it's not just here, like not just in this area. We get smoke from like the BC forest fires, the California forest fires. In Alberta up north there were forest fires. So when the wind shifts, we would get like the crazy smoke, right?
Yeah.
We had some that were 3 hours south of us in Waterton. Do you remember that? Everything was burning. The smoke was so bad. Bree's right. They were like, don't go outside. If you don't have to go outside, don't go outside. Man, we've been stuck inside for so long. It feels like it just keeps happening to us.
Yeah, but I mean, I would 100% rather have a nice rainy day, even with its hail and thunderstorms, than not be able to breathe air.
I
Um,
agree 100% with that.
yeah, so that to me is like the biggest positive spin is that hopefully we won't get as many wildfires this year. Because if BC stays wet, we stay wet, then hopefully it'll be okay.
I think we did a pretty good job there. That was good.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, that actually, you know what? It worked. Talking about this stuff made me feel better about the rain, actually. So thank you, Bree.
nice.
That was good.
I do believe that is the end for this week. So we've had a really great conversation about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
We've
we
had a
did.
really great conversation about doing things the right way the first time, which includes health and safety on top
Yeah.
of that. And then we talked about how rain can actually be very beneficial. So we've had a huge day today, lots of great topics,
You
and I
forgot
hope you enjoyed
about
it.
DuckTales.
Oh, and DuckTales! DuckTales! How could I forget about that? Because that show is amazing. So, and DuckTales.
And
So,
DuckTales.
we covered a gambit today. It's been great.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate any of you guys who stick with us week to week. You have no idea what that means to us. And of course, you can always check us out on our website, imaginaryfriends.ca. Go to our Instagram at imaginaryfriends.ca, and then follow our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and now YouTube.
YouTube! Yay!
All right. And what else, Erin?
Oh yeah, you can also email us at info@imaginaryfriends.ca.
Do it. Send us some email. Tell us how much you love things. Tell us how mad you are about my rant about masks. Do it. We want it all.
Do it. Send it all to us.
All right.
All right.
See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Ready, Bree?
Nope.
Erin and Bree, creative friends set loose and free, carving out a place the way they want it to be, called imaginary friends. Do you like camping or D&D? How about making or Disney? If that sounds good, the place you wanna be is imaginary friends. Two friends who are very different and have very different views, but together we cover all the bases and give you so much more to choose. So stop on by and take a look and see, and come hang out with Erin and Bree. You won't be bored, we can guarantee, at Imaginary Friends.
That was the best.